Well, I'm asked to look at a couple of oak trees because something's going on and the client is concerned that they're not looking real healthy. So I've got a lot of interesting things to look at here. Well, it's clear that the grade has been changed and there was a berm of rocks put around to protect the base of the tree, but there is 18 to 24 inches, in some cases as much as 3 feet of new soil put on top of the root system, and then the property kind of grades up. So it's anybody's guess what this area looked like years ago, but when you pile up soil on top of an existing root system of a tree, you create a condition known as compaction, and basically the roots suffocate. Now it takes a long time to kill a tree this way, and sometimes it takes decades, but when you see the tree starting to decline and look down at the ground, that's usually the best place to start your inspection. Now the problem is people say, well, what can I do to fix it? How can I make it better? And that's a tough call. Are we going to tear out all the grade here, bring it all the way down to the original grade? I don't believe that people are going to do that. So fixing, there's a lot of things that you could try. You could do some vertical core boring. You could put chips down. You could increase the irrigation during the really hot months. There's a lot of possibilities here. But at the end of the day, the tree is declining, or in this case, trees plural. They are declining because of what happened a long time ago. Oh, this is interesting. Look at this. I saw that and I thought, wow, what kind of a fungus growth is that? I can see a privet growing out of a crotch here, and clearly it's foam. And there's more foam over here. And there's also concrete. Oh boy, that's going to be, no, that's foam. I can hear it's foam all the way around. So somebody thought, okay, the best way to fix this cavity is to fill it up with something. Now, thankfully, it's not concrete because you can at least cut through this with a chainsaw, but you haven't got any way of inspecting it now. So people think, well, keep the water out, keep the bugs out. Does that work? No, it doesn't do anything positive for the tree, and it just makes it hard to inspect the tree and make recommendations on what to do. So when I see these things, I usually advise people to chip it out of there, get as much of it out as you possibly can so that you can really get a good look at what's going on inside the tree. Now this weakness up here clearly was evident because somebody filled it with foam, and the fact that there's a privet growing out of the weakness tells me that there must be some pretty good soil in that cavity. How deep is it is anybody's guess, but I can see there's a grouping of cables. There's a three-way cabling set up here that is probably holding this tree together. Now, going over to the live oak, this tree also has a tight crotch, but I don't see any evidence of decay or anything that really alerts me. And interestingly, a cable was installed in this tree, presumably at the same time as the other tree. Was it necessary? I don't believe so. It's sure padded somebody's bill, but I don't know, that's a tough call. Whenever you see a Y like that, oftentimes I find cables in the tree, and oftentimes I wonder why. Now looking at the cable install, I can see a considerable amount of tissue growing around the cable. So I'm going to guess that was at least 10 years ago. That's a swedge cable. Personally, I don't do the swedge cables, and I don't know how strong they are. Clearly it's held up for a long time, but under pressure I'm kind of, I question the I don't know, the longevity of it maybe. And some of these swedge cables are an aluminum type of an alloy. I know that squirrels like to sharpen their teeth on them, and I've seen swedges that were compromised by rodents. So is it a good idea? Like I said, I question it. And then finally there's oak tree number 3, which had the same kind of treatment done to it, but it's also fairly close to the road. So a long time ago, the roots on this section of the tree were severed, and there is some evidence of trunk canker down here. I see some oozing and some weeping down here. I see some damaged roots. Almost dead. There's a little bit of life in here. And I know the question is going to be, can I save it? I guess I would answer with possibly, but I don't think so. It's got 95% of all the foliage is missing. But interestingly, there's little bits of life everywhere. Is it worth the effort? I guess you have to look at all the decayed areas and kind of weigh it out and say, is it getting better or is it getting worse? I see a lot of root decay down in here, some cracking. I see evidence of insects. There's some holes. There's some black weeping down there, possibly associated with Phytophthora disease. I see some fresh powder down here, which means there's some active insects in here. So there's a lot of negative going on with this tree. The environment is also really bad. So whilst you may be able to prolong the life of the tree and maybe keep it going for a little bit longer, eventually it's going to succumb to this, and eventually it'll die. Eventually, maybe in the next couple of years. It may linger for years, but it certainly isn't going to get much better.